because of the influx of people who came at the first wave of migrants from New York that happened, I think the community started realizing that, we need some sort of structure, we need some sort of proper programs. Excited that we set up our first email system. We were all excited. We first website, happened at that time to 2008. 4 years as a secretary, 2 years as chairman. And that was pretty much my, my motivation, because I was part of the playing member as well. And my interest at that time was more towards sports than towards Jamaat. Now, how important the multipurpose hall has been for them in those communities, because it is.
Okay, I think you've, I guess, echoed a lot of common points that are mentioned by a lot of people when it comes to sports and its involvement within the community. I think it's a very important factor in at least bringing people together so that they can sort of work together in that aspect, and then eventually even work in the community in general. So once you are done with union, what happens after that?
So once we were done with union, the community, the HIC community here in Orlando was going through growing pains. There was influx of people moving in. Jamaat was growing rapidly, and things were getting a little challenging for the members. And I remember we always used to sit and complain, typically, right? We sit at the back and complain, this cannot be done, why are they doing this, so on and so forth. And there was quite a bit of disintegration within the community at that time too, for various reasons. And at that time, a few of us, I remember there was a person who told us that if you are growing up in a community that you feel is not doing right, if you don't go and fix it, your kids are going to grow up in this community, and things may be worse at that time. And this was the time when, few of us who were talking about it, we had young kids. They weren't even teenagers at that time, or barely teenagers at that time. And it kind of hit that nerve, that, if we really want to do something for our children, for the future of this community, we need to go there and get things done. And I remember when we first decided that, okay, we are going to collectively as a team, we were about 5, 6 of us that we got together, that we are going to take up the community. I remember people had come to us and said, you guys are you out of your mind? I mean, why would you go do that, take these positions, especially right now when the things are really bad? And, we discussed, and I remember thinking that, how worse can it be? I mean, it's already down there, right? How worse can it be? We can only make it better. And if we can make a little bit better, then I feel like we have done something. We have helped in bringing a change that we all are aspiring to do. It was a total period of about 6.5 years that we were together. And that comprised of about 8 people. So Brother Riaz Javraj, Brother Rizwan Jessa, Brother Murtaza Darsi, Brother Shabir Pirbai, Brother Mustafa Yusuf Ali, and Sister Siddiqa Manji and Sister Shalina, and myself. So this was the pretty much the group that the core group during that 6.5 years, of which I served 4 years as vice president, and then I served 2.5 years as the president. So having together for 6.5 years brought stability in the leadership, brought calmness in the community. I think people rallied around us, they inspired us, and the more they inspired us, the more we wanted to do for the community. And it didn't matter who was holding what title, whether I was the president, or, I was vice president, or, anybody was any other title, it didn't matter. We all worked as a team. We worked irrespective of title and designation. And having leadership stability and followed by leadership succession, I think is the key to the community, any community. A lot of times we have, people serve for 2 years and, they're done. And I can't blame anybody, because it's asking a lot, giving your time, your family's time in this. But sometimes you need that little longevity to accomplish what you set out as your goals.
Yeah, I think you've highlighted something that's, I guess, a common notion within the members of our community, at least, where they said that, during that 6-year period or so, Orlando went from being maybe a laughing stock to, a very powerful community within the Khoja Shia Isna Street Jamaats, so to speak. And what's interesting is that the background that you guys came from didn't have that much experience, but you had people that were guiding you in the process, and like you mentioned, the community was always behind you. So, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have experience, or, I'm not ready. But it seems like you guys came together and you had good support. Can you, I guess, mention some of this support that you got from people?
So, we got support in terms of, we got financial support. And the way we got financial support is we became transparent. When we took over the leadership role, people were very hesitant to support us financially, because they didn't know where the money is going to go. We had to earn their trust. We had to literally be transparent. One of the things I remember we introduced was, every week we would broadcast, this is what we received, this is what we spent, like in that simple terms. And it kind of resonated with the community that, okay, we see where the money is going, we see what they're doing. The other thing is, we weren't shy to come to community with problems, because at the end of the day, none of us were experienced, and none of us wanted to pretend that we were experienced. Everybody knew us. We were a bunch of young group. Our leadership experience is limited to sporting club, or maybe at the job that we were in. Nothing at Jamaat level to that extent. So when we had challenges or when we had issues, we would go to the community, or we would go to the individuals who were experienced. I remember, as a president, Brother Riaz, one of his responsibility was, if there is any matrimonial case. I'm almost sure Riaz had never encountered matrimonial case before. So he was not shy to go to somebody an elder person in the community, and seek guidance or seek help or involve them in those matters. Or for that matter, Brother Mustafa Yusuf Ali or Brother Shabir Pirbai, when it comes to programming, being that they were director of operations, there are certain programs are done certain way. We weren't shy to go to our elders, our experienced people, and learn from them or have guidance from them as to how we do this program. As a vice president, one of my portfolio was welfare. And every community has challenges when it comes to welfare. I just didn't know how to handle it. But there were people in the community who had experience. And once you go to them and you seek guidance, there is a lot of help in this community. You will be surprised. You just have to ask. There are a lot of people who are ready, because at the end of the day, this is our community. It's not the managing committee's community. It's not a donor's community. This is everybody's community. So, everyone is willing to help. You just have to ask. And that's what we did.
Wow, so ask and you shall receive.
Simple as that.
So anyways, I know that there were a lot of people that helped you guys along the way. Are there any names that come to mind, or people that you thought provided significant value? I know you've mentioned some of them.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people, in the community who helped or guided us one way or the other. It would be unfair to start mentioning names and forgetting somebody. But I would mention few names because they held a particular position, leadership position in the community, and we learned from them. And I remember I particularly, especially when I transitioned into the becoming a president, you would think that, 4 years of vice president will teach you how to lead the community. Trust me, wait till you get to the president. It's a whole different ballgame. But, having Riaz as part of my team, having the same people part of my team, Murtaza, Mustafa, Zwanjes, Siddiqa Bai, Shalina Bai, it kind of helped. It helped to learn, to know that, okay, I'm still working with the same people. It's just that my responsibilities have changed. And I always go back to see who the leaders were prior to me, and what can I learn from them. So I didn't have any leadership quality to be a leader of the community. I never, a few years prior to becoming a vice president, even thought that I would be part of the managing committee. So, you're learning as you go. But I remember, at that time, or just before that, I used to work for corporate America at that time. And being a leader of a team over there, we are exposed to a lot of these leadership trainings. Mm-hmm. And in one of the training I remembered, and until today I have tried to implement, is that you have to learn how to work with somebody's strength. And that's what makes you successful. So if you know somebody's strength, you go to that person for that reason only. So one of the things what I remember I did was, I would look back at the leaders of this community. So, you start with Ghulam Uncle Dewji, the first pioneer of this community. What is it that he brought to the community? And I loved his determination against all odds. If I'm sure you have heard him say his history in London as well as here in Orlando. I mean, he was determined to succeed, and he did. Today, this community, it was pretty much started by him and a few other people at that time. Then you transition to the second president, Brother Mehboob Manji, whom I had the pleasure of serving. Mehboob Manji was a strong leader. He had a full command, of the community. I mean, I admired that aspect of him. Then we went to Marhum Husseini Yusuf Ali. I've never seen somebody who's that humble and that soft-spoken and still be able to be a successful leader like Marhum Husseini Yusuf Ali. Then we went to Brother Mehboob Jagani, one of the selfless person that you will see. This is the person who would do, any kind of work and don't have that pride in him that, oh, I'm the president or whatever. That's something I learned from him. He was followed by Brother Jabir Chattu. Brother Jabir Chattu is one of those person who is so gifted in networking with people. You want to know about somebody or want to get something from somebody, he's the right person because he has that art of networking with people, and it's amazing. So you learn something from him. He was followed by Brother Muhammad Manikia. Brother Muhammad Manikia's biggest strength was his interaction with outside community. He was very much into interfaith and intrafaith, even during that time when we weren't even looking at that time. So after Brother Muhammad Manikia finished, that's when we came in, and Riaz became the president. And Riaz's biggest strength that I learned from him is his he has the ability to rally a community. He has the ability to influence a community. And, he's somebody that I learned how to do that. So these were the people that I literally kind of looked at, okay, it doesn't matter what their term or the result of the term was, what was their strength? Now, I probably achieved 10% of what these guys did, but it was good to learn from them. And apart from these leaders, there were a lot of other people who helped, but there were two that I would say that I actually learned a lot from as well. One was Brother Liaqat Fazal. Brother Liaqat Fazal, I would say, was one person who was most experienced in most of the categories. His leadership started back in New York a long time back, before I was even in North America. And it continued from sporting level to Jamaat level in New York and then to Orlando level. And I learned quite a bit from him. And the other person who I consider my mentor, somebody that I learned from, somebody that not many people would know, but he actually made a point of spending time with me when I was president on a weekly basis or once every 2 weeks. We would actually meet somewhere and I would learn from him. And that was Brother Jafar Abdul Hussein. What I learned from Brother Marhum Jafar Abdul Hussein was, and that's why I say he's my mentor, and is because he was a person who always taught me about being a president for tomorrow, not for today. So if you are a president of a community, don't be a president for what you can do today. Be a president for what you can do in the future. And that's what I learned from him. And if you know me, I am not very good in day-to-day. I'm the way other previous presidents, they were really good in how to conduct day-to-day. I was not even in par with them. But one of the things that I always look forward to is that what can I do that will have a lasting impact, that will have a future impact? And, we need to have a vision and we need to have a plan on how to implement this vision. And we need to have the right people working together to achieve this vision. And I think that was one of the biggest thing I learned from Marhum Jafar Abdul Hussein. So he was somebody that I would meet every now and then. He was also one of the person who actually pushed me to take that president's job, because I remember after we finished the 4-year term, there were multiple factors, whether one, you feel like, okay, you don't want to outlive your, don't want to overstay your welcome over there. And second was, never been president before. I was a little hesitant. And I remember him one day calling me and telling me, okay, let's meet and I need to speak to you. And I thought it was totally different. And he actually kind of pushed me into taking this position. And in return, he fulfilled his obligation of mentoring me throughout. So I learned quite a bit from him.
I think it's a good way of going about things, try and focus on what the positives are and see if you can deal with the negatives, So what are some of your achievements while you were president, and what are the challenges that kind of came in the way?
Let's start with challenges.
Sure.
So one of the things that I, just like probably the previous presidents also learned, but I probably being the least experienced probably, when I became the president, the portfolio of marital issues, challenges, things like that, became part of my issues, my responsibilities. And I remember, many a times you go to the elder of the community and you seek their guidance. But in talking to those couple who were going through challenges, one of the things I learned from talking to different people was that some of these people who are having challenges, they're quite young. And the people that we are trying to seek help from, they're elderly people. They may be experienced, but there was a disconnect. And that's when I felt like, okay, we need to kind of figure out what else we can do. And it's very easy to figure out what we can do, because you can look at other communities or within our Shia communities, or even outside of Shia, look at some Christian churches and whatnot. You have people who are specialized in handling these issues. So my biggest challenge was, okay, how do I find these people who are going to be able to help these people who are having issues and challenges and things like that. So, in doing so, we started getting couples who went through some training and, of how to deal with marital conflicts. Also getting people who were already specialized in that field from outside community or outside Orlando to kind of help us on how to deal with this. Because one of the things that I believed very firmly was, we need growth and development in people for us as a community to succeed. And we can only do that by helping them. If you help the individual, then the family succeeds. If you help the family, community succeeds.